Students, in the previous video you have studied about the male and female gametes. Today I am going to start the process of pollination. In sexual reproduction, the plants go through the three processes, that is pollination, fertilization and post-fertilization. So one by one we will discuss them. You have already seen the animated video. Same I am going to explain here with the help of your book. So student, pollination, the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma is called the pollination. Definition you can write: transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. Means anther means the male part and stigma means the female part. So transfer of pollen grains, because pollen grains are the male gametes. Now pollination are of two types, self-pollination and the cross-pollination. So basic difference between cross and self-pollination you can see in your book also. When the pollination occur in the same plant or within the same flower, if it is a bisexual plants, means having this flower have both the male and female part, if pollination occur within them, or when the pollination occur within the two flower of same plant, that is known as the self-pollination. But when pollination occur within the two plants flower of the same species, they should be of same species, that is known as the cross-pollination. Self means among themselves or among the flowers of the same plant, and the cross means among the same species but or two different plants. Now after pollination, there are some agents which are responsible for the pollination. You have studied already wind, insect and water. Now you have to learn the biological terms. Wind pollination or the Entomophily. Insect pollination is also known as the Entomophily, and the water pollination is known as the Hydrophily. Hydro means the water. So we will discuss them one by one. In wind pollination, generally the plants such as rice, wheat, maize are pollinated through the Entomophily. In this, they have the flowers which are small and do not have showy petals. You have already seen the maize plant or the wheat plants. Their petals are not showy, means they are not able to attract the insect. They don't have the sweet scent or the nectar. So in the absence of insect, now how pollination will occur? For example, they want the cross pollination, so they have the light weighted pollen grains, and they have lot of pollen grains or large amount of pollen grains to compensate for the loss in transit, because through wind they are going. On the way, it is not possible that all the pollen grains reach to the other flowers, so they are in large amount to compensate the loss of transit. So the flowers are often long and feathery, which help in catching the stigmas. Generally the stigma of the flowers are long and feathery, so that they catch the light pollen grains. Next is the insect pollination or Entomophily. Generally the pollinated flower produce sticky or spiny pollen grains, so that when insects sit on the plant to take the nectar, the sticky pollen grains stick to their feet or their antennas or their wings, and when they sit on the other plant, the pollen grain shed and goes to the stigma of the other plants. So these are generally the fig, rafflesia, jasmine, sunflower are pollinated through the insect or the Entomophily. Third one is the water pollination or Hydrophily. In this, generally the Hydra or Vallisneria, they are generally found in the water. These plants produce small colorless and inconspicuous flower. Both Hydrilla and Vallisneria have either male, means only male, or female bearing only female. Hydrilla can also bear flowers of both sexes. So here you can see in the Vallisneria, the male flowers float, and when they reach to the female part coiled, and pollination occur here, or the fertilization occur here. Now we will come to the artificial pollination. What is artificial pollination? These are the natural ways of pollination. Now what is the main significance of the artificial pollination? That if we want to develop new or better variety of plant, so we need the artificial pollination, like as the hybridization, which you have already studied. For example, a particular variety may resist to a certain disease but may not produce a high yield. So we want a plant which have high yield as well as resistant to the certain disease. So we need to combine both the plants together. For this, to begin with, two varieties with one or more desired character are selected. They must belong to the same species. For example, if we want to make the hybrid seed through the artificial pollination, we need the two varieties of wheat only. If we want to grow paddy, we have two varieties of paddy only, means same species. The stamen of the flower of one variety are removed from the anther, mature, and the gynoecium is covered with the bag so that natural pollination cannot occur. I already told natural pollination occur here. So we will hide this and we will remove the male part from the main plant so that pollination cannot occur within themselves but for the desired character. The natural reproductive process is allowed to take their course. So the process of obtaining a new variety by artificial means is called hybridization, and the variety of plant is known as hybrid. Those who belong to the farmer family or landlord family, they know the hybrid seeds. Difference between a normal seed and the hybrid seed. Hybrid seeds give more yield and they are more resistant to the particular diseases including rice, wheat, maize, cotton and sugar corn. So generally hybridization was taken to get the positive result of your crops. Next, now we will discuss about the process of fertilization. In the animated video also you have seen. So students, you know that pollen grains have three cells or the three gametes. One is vegetative cell and two are the male gametes. So during the process of fertilization, one of the pollen grains make the pollen tube. From style, this pollen tube reaches to the ovary, and through this tube only the two male gametes enter inside. Among three, one make the pollen tube and two rest of the two come inside the ovary. One become the seed and another help in the process of fertilization, means female egg cells are here inside the ovary or ovules are there, and when the male gametes enter through this pollen tube, they combine together to make a zygote. So what is zygote? Male and female gamete fuses and form a single cell, that is known as the zygote, means male and female gamete of plants join together to make the zygote. So this is a process of fertilization. Next come to the post fertilization changes, means what happen after the fertilization. So generally after fertilization, the stigma, petal, styles, they generally shed off, and sometimes the sepal, green part of the flower also shed. Only remains are of ovaries left. This is the remains of the style, and this is the fruit or the pulp, and this is the seed. You have already seen what happened to the ovary after the fertilization. The zygote changes into, means single cell changes into the embryo or the baby plant. Ovule become the seed, means its outer covering. Ovary become the fruit. This is pulp. So all the and the embryo, means inside the seed one gamete is already there for further it will grow. When it get the favorable condition, the seed grows into new plant. So in the animated video you have already seen, and you know that unripe fruit is usually green and tastes sour or bitter to repel fruit eating animals. When fruit ripens and seed mature, to attract fruit eating animals for seed dispersal. Generally when you eat the raw fruit, means unripe fruit, it is little bit sour or not that much tasty, but when it ripens it tastes better. For example mango, because the seed already mature so that the dispersal can happen with the help of fruit eating animals. So hope that you have understand this. The post fertilization changes, means this is a fertilization. The gametes, male and female gamete, means egg cells of female or ovary, and the male gametes from the pollen grains fuses together to make the zygote. Now this zygote changes into further transformations. I already told after the post fertilization, zygote become the embryo or the baby plant, ovule changes to seed, and ovary become the fruit. Means ovule becomes seed and ovary become the fruit. Now embryo is further, when it get germinated or get the favorable condition, embryo have three parts: radicals give rise to root system, plumule which give rise to the shoot system, and the cotyledon, maybe monocotyledon or dicotyledon, means the seeds. This is monocotyledon, and if it has two cotyledon, it is known as dicotyledon. So these are the changes which I already told you. Pollination means male and female gametes fuses in the process of fertilization. Then post-fertilization, petals and all the unusual part fell off and only the remains of the ovary left, and that ovary become the fruit as well as the embryo reside inside it. So you have to revise this, and students, you have to know the labeling of these plants also, especially when you are the structure of flowers also you have to know how to draw.